electric pace on the front of that yellow jersey group, just to try and make it as hard as possible for Jonas. But they will wait. They're not going to, you know, chance it early, because then he could put himself into difficulty. They'll wait until probably midway up that final climb, see how they're feeling, how the others are faring, and go from there. But if that gap does come down a lot more, and it is coming down, then Tadej Pogačar might have another sniffer for the win.
I think Bruno Amarai is badging himself up for a combativity award today. He's been hanging there and getting back in and dropping off and getting back in. It's great to see.
Well, speaking of combativity award, there's of course the prize for the super combatif of this Tour de France, and there's a number of riders who before today were in the running, were on the short list of the organisation, including Jai Hindley, Julien Bernard, Oya Lascano, Matteo Verscher, Jonas Abrahamsen, who attacked 1 million times in the first 10 days, Guillaume Martin, Ben Healy, Roman Gregoire, Michał Kwiatkowski, but importantly, and a man who was also in this group and been incredibly active over this final week, Richard Carapaz. Could he be the final red number of this tour?
I think they might want to spread the love.
Maybe.
I'd give it to Ben Healy, to be honest.
Well, or would you give it to Jonas Abrahamsen, who was responsible for the average speed of this tour in the first 10 days?
And indeed was in the King of the Mountains jersey as a result of it. He was in every break, wasn't he? Something to be pondered. Got 500 metres of this KOM to come. Will Carapaz come over just almost as an underscoring of his greatness in the mountains? You know, occasionally, Danny, we get a King of the Mountains who we've been described dismissively as King of the Hills, because it means just getting the breakaway and do the job. But this is a true King of the Mountains we're fating here, isn't it?
It is, and not a GC rider for Richard Carapaz. This will be huge, and he will be going to take those 10 points at the top of this one with 340 metres to go. He's been outstanding, hasn't he? And he'll also be looking for the stage. Let's not forget the Vuelta back in 2022 that Remco Evenepoel won. He won 3 stages in the final 10 days and the polka dot jersey. So he'll wrap this one up, and then he'll be looking at ways to win the stage.
Just keeping an eye out for Matteo Jorgensen, I think. who's nowhere near, but you never know.
Yeah, Enric Mas had basically told him, I've got your wheel, don't worry, I'll knock anyone out who's going to stop you. Little conversation between the pair of them, and over the top comes our true King of the Mountain. Absolutely brilliant.
Superb.
What a ride.
And
Worthy
from the
winner.
whole of the team as well, they've had a brilliant tour. You know, they came in, we were lucky enough to hear from Charlie Wegelius before the Tour de France started, and he said his objective was bringing 8 leaders with 8 different opportunities. They've ridden so aggressively throughout. They held the yellow jersey. They've had Ben Healy and Carapaz as standout riders in every single breakaway, and it got to the point where we thought, is this ever going to come? And it did, with Richard Carapaz himself, and now he's putting in you know, an opportunity to take another stage win, and he's securing that polka dot jersey. Chapeau.
Yeah, we've also had team boss of EF Education First, Jonathan Vaughters, in the studio with us here on the breakaway, and it's now been a couple of Grand Tours in a row that it's taken until Jonathan Vaughters has joined us in the studio that his team's started getting the big results and winning stages. I think he might have put in a request to be here for stage 1 of the next Grand Tour.
Oh, it was great. It was great having him here. And of course Larry as well. Just been superb.
We're waiting to see Larry. We put out the challenge to him to hold up a banner. I said, you've got to sacrifice your bed sheets and paint your best mate's name on it and get out there on the roads.
Here we go. So over the top went Enric Mas after having a brief chat with Carapaz, something along the lines of Vámonos muchacho, but I imagine as well they've got designs on the rest of the day. And here we go. It's they're not hanging around, and you can tell because, well, apart from anything else, the gap has closed. 2 minutes and 43 now to the yellow jersey group. If they have designs, they're going to have to work hard for it, because these guys are absolutely motivated, aren't they?
They are railing it, aren't they, down this descent?
We're looking at a similar situation to yesterday, where we said the breakaway was going to need a minimum of 4 minutes lead at the bottom of the climb to be a chance. In the end, Matteo Jorgensen come up 20 seconds short of getting the stage victory with a 4-minute gap at the bottom of that final climb. I would say the same today, because once it's race on, what Soudal Quickstep are doing at the moment, it's likely to be a sustained pace from the bottom of that final climb onwards all the way through to the finish. So 2:42 for mine is not enough for someone out of this group to survive. I mean, maybe if someone is on an incredible day, a Richard Carapaz, maybe in the current form, 3 minutes may be enough. And a lot depends in the end if it's Tadej Pogačar who is the one to make a big acceleration and go for the stage win.
The yellow jersey group then come over this penultimate climb of this year's race. If you don't factor in the climbs that we've got in the time trial tomorrow, it's quite a lumpy one, I must admit, but there's one great big lump left for us to enjoy today. To get there, we've got a long descent. It'll be about 20 kilometers before we get to the foot of our climb. We have the descent, a short section in the valley of 4Ks. Well, this is no party, but goodness me, you look at the crowds and you think it was the biggest one on the planet. And I guess in many senses it is. This is epicenter cycling, and it is absolutely wonderful to see how they've all tipped out. They've ignored the beaches today, Danny. They've come up into the mountains.
They have, and I'm glad they've ignored the beaches, sorry, because this is phenomenal to see, isn't it? What it means to everyone, and to hear and see everyone's different journeys as to when they came, you know, to the Tour de France, how long they've been camping on the side of the road for, when they left their homes to be here, the banners that they've made, the children on the side of the road with their cowbells. You can see some of them on the shoulders of the parents or guardians who they're with, and this will be inspiring the next generation. This is what it's all about. It's brilliant, and it'll give the riders an extra few watts as well. When you hear those cheers, it definitely helps.
Talking about the power of the jersey, Robbie, there's the power of the fans as well. You just want to make that extra effort, don't you, for them?
Well, when you're getting cheered on and you know they're thronging the side of the road and screaming your name, it certainly gives you that boost.
I remember Dan Lloyd in the British Championships. They were shouting, "Come on, Luke," and they were shouting, "Come on, Brad," and Dan himself said, "Come on, Dan," as he came up over the top.
I just wanted to add that little bit to it after, you know, because I heard he actually rode that race still with paint on his hands after going out on the course the night before and with a roller and putting his own name down on the climb.
I'm not surprised. It does not surprise me at all. Oh dear, bless him. 31 kilometers from home. Oh gosh. Well, it's a well-worn road, this one, suffering occasionally, as it does, from tar melt in the very high temperatures of the summer. Some of those mountain roads, this is not as bad as some of the heavy roads that we have seen, where they're built cheaply with liquid tar and then a sprinkle of gravel. It's one of the most awful surfaces to deal with, especially if they've just re-gravelled it and there's banks of gravel at the side of the road. But this looks okay. That said, the pace that they're going to be taking it is going to be quite high, because although it's a driving descent, this Robbie, it's one that could actually prove to be quite significant today because of how it introduces you to the final test.
Yeah, well, it is a pedaling descent, so it's not like it's one of those really steep ones where you don't have to pedal. You hold the legs still. They can tend to seize up a bit, and you hit the foot of the final climb, and it really hits you, and it just stings so badly that first part of the climb that you hit. But this is a pedaling descent. You save a lot of energy being in the wheel, though, and you know, if you do choose to try and go off the front, which no one has done over that last climb, to go solo, this is that type of descent where you use up a lot of power. So it's better to just stay in the group, back yourself for the final climb.
Richard Carapaz adding 10 to his tally takes him to 121 points tally in the King of the Mountains classification. Tadej Pogačar on 87. So even if Tadej does come through to take victory at the end of today, and it's not off the cards with a gap of 3 minutes and 7, sort of a holding margin, because we're on a very long descent at the moment. It's, as described by Robbie McEwen, as a pedaling descent, and another one of these magnificent drone shots. You know, before drones were around, this would have been an extraordinarily expensive shot But nonetheless, the Gorge de Quien, or Sien. What is it, John?
Well, it's this beautiful rivered gorge that cuts through, as we can see, part of the Mercantour National Park. So we've got lots of wildlife, lots of fauna available here, but those gorge doesn't look like the sort that you could actually go down on a canoe on that particular one, because it just looks a little bit choppy there, too much rock. But you get these right the way through the south of France, some of them more spectacular than others, loads that are really well tucked away and hidden away, but yeah, beautiful water to follow down here, and you can just see all of the erosion that's taken place over the years. When this river runs much higher, that'll be when those bigger boulders are rolled along, but for now it's the sort of a summer height. So as we saw with the Vesubie, just that bit of a trickle in that at the moment, as opposed to a much wider base that it has when it's in the winter months.
John then waiting for some heavy rain so he can pump up his dinghy.
Absolutely right.
Talk about more than a trickle.
It does get rather brutal around here, I tell you, with some of the mountain runoff. Can actually be quite dangerous. Who's in danger today, and at whose hand? Well, let's wait and see, shall we? For the time being, the chase is being set by Soudal Quickstep. It was uphill, now it is on this descent, and I just can't wait to see what the gap is by the time we get to the foot of our final climb. Robbie, you reckon it's going to be quite narrow? 3 minutes and 10, 3 minutes and 12 by the end of the flat section. What's going to be needed?
I still think that less than 3 minutes is not enough for the front group. This is within expectation. I think that the break out the front, we're going to put some time into the Soudal Quickstep led peloton, call it a group of GC favourites, because they're not wanting to take great risks with Remco Evenepoel in the wheel. They're concentrated more on the battle for second place overall with Jonas Vingegaard, rather than trying to wind the break in for the stage victory. But if they are able to do that, and Remco can fight for a top three on the stage, there's also the time bonuses on the line, which would be incredibly helpful. But you can see in the break, they are pushing things on the descent. We've had Jan Tratnik at the front, really pushing hard on those more open sections where you have to pedal. Even Marc Soler has now gone to the front of the descent, and you can see how much harder they're pushing it in the corners, banking it over much more. If you're Johannesson here at the back, I think it's still got to be sending shivers down your spine after what happened to him a couple of days ago on the stage won by Victor Kampenaerts, a high-speed left-hander, and the front wheel went from underneath him. He's terrible sort of road burns to all up his leg, hip, and shoulder. So yeah, you got to hand it to him for being able to follow the group on these descents and not flinch.
Another mountain runoff section here, as you can see. Helipad as well, just in case. Well, they come across this little pinch point, which, had they been all bunched together, would have been more significant than it was. Very high-paced in terms of our descent, and they drive on here. Just looking at how intact UAE Team Emirates are, they've of course got Marc Soler up the road, but just about everybody else is in the service of the man in yellow. And what will he produce today? Well, a whole load of hurt, I imagine, on anyone around him who would deny him another stage win, if it's a possibility. Is it, though? What about the composition of this breakaway? Who do you still believe in, Danny?
Richard Carapaz for me. Just looking at the history of him as a bike rider and how he's come through this Tour de France, I think, yeah, if I was putting any money on this front group, it would be for him. You know, also the way he's measured himself throughout this stage. He hasn't had to give much more to those points that he's taken throughout the ride as well. So yeah, I think this stage will be for him. And again, going back to that peloton behind, we're talking about Tadej Pogačar and what he might do, but I can't see it today, because it was him and him alone on that climb yesterday to bridge that huge gap of over 4 minutes. This is a smaller gap. However, I think he's going to leave it up to Remco Evenepoel to put the hurt on Jonas Vingegaard.
Let's see. I mean, if Pogačar started following Vingegaard, of can't imagine that as a scenario with Evenepoel up the road. That would just rub salt into the wounds, metaphorically, I think. Let's see, 24 Ks from home. It's holding station as we expected on the descent, but what will happen when we get to the floor of the valley? It's a flattish section of just around 4 Ks, as we've mentioned. That could be a time where, if there isn't a cohesion in the group up front, the climbers have shown that they can actually put some gaps between themselves and those they regard as passengers within the front group. But riding on the flat is a different kettle of fish altogether. So it may well be that there is some arguments over work rate amongst the breakaway group shortly. Can't afford for any caginess at all, Robbie, at a moment like this.
Well, it depends who you are and where you sit on GC and what your ambitions are for the stage. If you're willing to gamble a little bit, then you are cagey. But if you're in that front group, I think you all owe it to each other to put the work in that's required to open this gap up even more while you've got the opportunity, while Soudal Quickstep are taking it a little bit easier on the descent to not endanger Remco Evenepoel. So there, no time for caginess in the front. But in the back, I think there's plenty of caginess.
Let's see. Referring to the work rate that has to be done by those out front to keep these guys in abeyance, it sounds like a big task, to say the least.
Still plenty of teammates there for Tadej Pogacar. I mean, his real climbing domestiques. You got Sivakov, Yates and Almeida. They won't want to sacrifice Almeida, but the other two, if Tadej so decides, it may be a little bit dependent on what's happening with Marc Soler in front. They've got the riders at their disposal to wind up the pace and put Tadej in position for stage win number 5.
Danny, who's your pick today?
I'm going to go for the breakaway. I'm going to go Richard Carapaz, and I'm also going to predict that Remco Evenepoel will take 32 seconds over Jonas Vingegaard.
That's very. Are we running a spread here? I think we're
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
We're going to have to. Remco Evenepoel. All right, I'll go for 48 seconds.
Wow.
And yeah, I think Carapaz will win today. There we are. Robbie?
Tadej for the win.
Wow, he's going all in.
The cannibal.
We're coming down into the valley. There is one significant mountain test of this entire Tour de France remaining, save for some lumps and bumps, of course, in the time trial tomorrow. But to carry you to the peak, it is Rob Hatch.
Thanks very much, Colton. Sun shining. Final Saturday of the Tour. The final mountain test awaits. What a sight, what a setting, what a bunch of riders we've been watching. 3 minutes 9 seconds, as you've been hearing. Cat was coming back, just extended slightly on the descent. Yellow jersey there. He will be very happy how today has gone. He's about to ride to the Col de la Couillole, a mountain that he knows well, Tadej Pogacar. He won here last year. Paris then. Richie Porte, also a winner down the years. 7 years ago, in fact, at the Col de Couillole. But it's very different taking it on in March. There's a main one climb at the end of 3 weeks and at the end of 3 big mountains. This is how it's taken on today. Beginning down in the valley, Saint-Sauveur-sur-Tinée, and straight away up into some really difficult gradients. It's 16 kilometers, stays consistent, 7% roughly. It's a big, big mountain. Up to 1,600 meters. Paris has been before. It's a debut at the Tour de France. That is the final climbing test that the peloton will take on as a bunch. Before tomorrow, they will take on the ultimate race of truth, the time trial from Monte Carlo all the way to Nice. Col de la Couillole is the last road mountain test of this 111th tour, and you couldn't get a more consistent climb than that. That's what it looks like. These are the riders who are going to take it on first. 3 minutes, 5 seconds for the group that has been up right on the front of the race now for the majority of the stage. Kelderman and Tratnik with Soler, Sturven, Armirai, Junietz, Carapaz, Mas, Balde and Johannesson. A 10-man group, 3:04 back to the yellow jersey. Sean Kelly rejoins me, Rob Hatch, in the commentary box. And we're about to go to Adam Blythe as well, as he, I hope, has been enjoying these scenes and scenery as much as he can. Sean, very quickly before we go to Adam, this is the final big test. Breakaway, peloton.
Breakaway.
The king has pronounced. We will see how it shakes out. Let's go to Adam on the motorbike for his final judgment.
So guys, I know I keep talking about descents and how scary they were, but we've just come down that last descent before we climb up again. Man, I've just had the time of my life. Honestly, I feel like Valentino Rossi and I'm not even driving. Just left, right, left, right. The peloton shouldn't be too far behind me. And boy, oh boy, if I was on a bike now, there's more of these corners coming up. It's just left, right round here. Tight on the brakes. It's oh, that was a bit tight. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, amazing, and I feel like I'm on a racetrack right now. It's just fantastic. Woohoo!
Adam, you just made your motorbike pilot's day by mentioning Valentino Rossi there. I think he felt seen in a very nice way. He'll be doing his best to keep you on the bike. You won't be thrown off into the corners. Here we go then. 250. Sean, you're saying breakaway there. That was very quick. Very, very quick judgment before I had to throw to Adam. You're having time to reflect. The time gap's come down since. Soudal Quickstep racing for GC, let's not forget. But we know that if it comes closer, it could bring the rest. But we do have mega talent up front, don't we?
Yes, we have some real good riders up front. And I think that the team of Remco Evenepoel, they are going to be riding for... to make the race difficult, see what he can do on the climb and take some time back on the man he's
I don't know what's up with this bike today.
Jonas Vingegaard. And I feel that with this man out in front, Soler, UAE will probably just, you know, back off a little bit and leave him have his go and see what he can do here in this company. But he is in real big company here, and it's going to be an interesting one. But Soler is a rider. We see him just a while ago there. He came off the back, he puts in this attack, then he gets caught, and is it game over? Not at all. He gets back in there, and we've seen him so many times do that in races where he looks like he's dropped, done for the day, and he comes back to life again. So it's going to be an interesting one, and they might just play that card. I feel Tadej as well, he will say, I can't really put the team on the front here and try and ride after this breakaway again. I might not make myself, you know, very popular in the team. So I think that'll be a little bit as well in the thoughts of UAE.
Marc Soler knows this part of the world and has had success here. We've talked about Paris-Nice often. He's a former GC winner of Paris-Nice 6 years ago.
Well, I won a few Paris-Nices myself, and it didn't help me to win a Tour de France. On a mountain stage, even to me, the mountain stage, the Tour de France, I didn't manage to do many of them.
Always talking yourself down, dearie me. Soler is up there. You said he's the man for UAE. Two men for Visma, Kelderman, Tratnik, neither of whom have won a Tour stage before. They would be popular winners, I can tell you. Sturven, climbing better than he's ever climbed before. Johannesson fighting on. Balde, what a bookend that would be, wouldn't it, after he won the opening stage of the Tour. Yellow jersey then. Enric Mas still not won a Grand Tour stage. There's Carapaz. He's got plenty of those. He's got one in this race as well. And he's looking like the strongest in this group. Juniet's fighting away for Groupama. And Soler here holding on at the back. His former teammate Carapaz 2 wheels in front. Mihai is the other man to mention. So then, descent done. They start to climb. This is the Col de la Couillole. Ascents have been timed quickly at this tour. Are we in for another full gas fly up the hill? We're about to find out. The final mountain day of the tour. Torigny, Colmiane have been the launch pads for this final ascent. The Col de la Cuillole, 15.7 kilometers from bottom to top. Only the first few hundred meters are relatively easy. The rest is 7, 8%. It is one of the most consistent climbs out there. Lenny Martinez with 42 minutes, 44 seconds as the fastest of those times we've seen. If this ascent is like anything else we've seen, we're in for record time. Let's go to DSM and the radio. Well, I think they were miming that message there. We could read it, but we couldn't hear it. And he was looking good, was Bardet.
Yes, well, Bardet, it will be an interesting one. When you look at the riders we've got up here, you know, there is a huge talent, and you know, Bardet is a one that can do it on this climb. Is he finishing this tour in good enough shape? That is the question. The man, Enric Mas, he seemed to be improving a bit better as this race go on, but again, you can see some days they look very good, and other days they can be so disappointing at the end of the race. Who is going to be the disappointing one? We're seeing one already here.
Bruno Armirail there, losing contact. Soler is just being Soler, isn't he? A wheel and a half off the back, grinding through the gears as Tratnik ploughs on. Jersey Open as is his start. We saw him at the Giro, didn't he? He was close, and it was a Barret day. We can see that Mas is moving up through the centre. Wherever he goes, Bardet will try and go. Then you see Soler at the back. We've seen him crack once. We've seen him attack from the back once. Is he coming back from this, though?
No, I don't think. I think he's in difficulty. He may be come back because they might just look at each other. Still 14.8 kilometers, and you can see they're looking at each other, the marking of each other. You can see there. Enric Mas moving up. We can see Bardet immediately watching. So the ones who, you know, are feeling good here, they're going to be looking at the riders in that breakaway, and they know their, you know, strong points. So they're going to be there to that marking. So Soler might come back, but I don't think it's going to be for him to hang in long here.
Soudal Quickstep are still riding here. They're still chasing. Van Wilder is on a great day. Probably his best day at this whole tour. We've had Moscon ride before, but with Soler gone, does that change things for UAE?
Well, possibly, although I doubt if they will go for it on this stage. I think they'll allow, you know, the Soudal Quickstep guys to continue on here on the climb, and it'll depend on how long they can keep it going. And then will Remco Evenepoel try something, you know, from a further out to put Jonas Vingegaard in difficulty, and that will create a launch pad. But of course, if somebody goes like Remco Evenepoel, well, the yellow jersey of Tadej Pogačar, he's going to follow as well, and that's where it could, you know, lead him into a situation where he can go for the stage win.
Juniette's now in trouble. One by one they're whittled down, and the quality rises to the top. And look who's still living with the best climbers. Jasper Stuyven, take a bow.
Well, he's amazing in this last number of days, and you know, for the big classics rider to be here in this company at this stage, this end of the race, he's shown the last number of days. He just seems to be, you know, really getting good at the end of this race. And when you're good, you know, the more punchier riders, they start to struggle a bit, and that's where, you know, you can have the advantage, and that's the reason we'll see him Stuyven able to hang in here.
Romo here, that's Van Wilder done. Keep your eye on the front of the yellow jersey group now, because it's up to Jan Hirt. He's up the saddle, the pace is increasing, and 10 seconds have disappeared from the gap very quickly. Pogačar still has Sivakov, Yates there, Almeida too. Landa would be the next man to work for Evenepoel. And right on the wheel of Remco Evenepoel in that white jersey, you can see Jonas Vingegaard. He has one man left. Matteo Jorgensen, Derek G's in the group, Ciccone is there, Buitrago as well. All of those riders whoever they can defending those positions. Rodriguez is hanging at the back and he's not had a great couple of days. That's Tratnik done, and it looks as though it is all now for Kelderman up the front. With Mas putting the pressure on, it's all happening. Let's go to Hannah.
Well, he might not be in the peloton anymore, but the Thibaut Pinot fans are still here, they're still alive, they're still as crazy and as energetic as ever. And look at this! What you probably can't see behind me here is the Groupama FDG van, which is trying to get to the finish line. But of course these fans are soaking up all of the atmosphere here at the Tour de France. Absolutely incredible on the Virage Thibaut Pinot.
The ultras are out in force. Thanks, Hannah. They might not be winning a stage, but they might just be winning the Best Fans Award. Groupama FDG and the Pinot Ultras are there. Now, this is Simon Yates. And he's just off the back, but look who's ahead of him. Rodriguez, once again, is suffering. He's not ending this tour as he wanted to.
No, not at all. I think we've seen yesterday, losing big time against the riders that you would expect him to be with on that final climb, and losing huge time to the riders like Pogacar and Vingegaard, Evenepoel losing 142. We see Evenepoel was down there, but when you go down to Carlos Rodriguez, he finished down at 3:56 down on the winner of the day. That's not his place, and that proves that he's running out of energy. And again today, once it starts hitting you at the end of the race, you get a difficult day like today, it's going to hit you again in the final.
In danger of slipping and sliding further down the GC. Now then, you said he might come back, and that's exactly what Marc Soler's trying to do, riding his race. He's full of heart, isn't he? Whether you're a fan or not. He's not metronomic. He's certainly not a robot. Marc Soler is always an interesting watch. He's one of the first to lose contact, but he's gone past those who were dropped after him. And Soler, with Carapaz on the front, is making his way back. Still 13 Ks to go to the finish. And with Jan Hirt now working at the front of the yellow jersey group, the gap's gone down to 2 minutes 40 seconds. The narrow roads on the way up to the Col de la Quillole. Back in that yellow jersey group. See if there's any more damage. It's certainly a smaller group, isn't it? Rodriguez off the back, as we saw. Still a little bit of help here in the shape of wild pools for Santiago Buitrago. And he's right on the wheel of his new best mate, Giulio Ciccone. Those of you who weren't watching our pre-show today, there's a little bit of argy-bargy between those two after the race yesterday. One accusing the other of holding on to cars. Let's go to Adam. He's holding onto the bike.
All right. Here's the yellow jersey group. We've got Quickstep on the front. Jonas right in behind Remco there. Tadej looking absolutely fine with all his teammates behind. Sivakov suffering. Ciccone there right at the back with his tongue hanging out like a dog. He is suffering. We've got Stevie Williams here. Stevie's done a great ride to be here still. Just judging his effort till he gets to the top. But this is going to be on now. Remco Evenepoel. Can he take time back on Tadej Pogacar? I'm going to follow them to the top and give you any updates as I see them. Back to you, commentators.
Thanks, Adam. 1 minute 58 between second place and third, and little gaps opening up between those riders at the front. It's Bardet who's on the move with Kelderman. Carapaz is there with Mas. Johannesson is holding on like a hero, and still battling right at the back is Jasper Stuyver. And Soler has done what we thought he couldn't do. You thought he might have a chance though, Sean, and you're obviously a seasoned Soler watcher.
Yes, well, again, it all depends on what happened out front, and you can see the big fight is not on between the stronger riders here, as we can see Stuyven starting to get into difficulty. The moment they really go for it and decide, yeah, I'm going to go all the way here, and 12 kilometers plus on this climb, it's a long ways to go, and the riders are looking at each other, just throwing in testers there to see who's got the energy left. With Stuyven as a one, he's going to just go further back here, lose contact, and Yeah, with the guys he's with, it was going to be expected here. But again, you can see Kelderman just tapping it out here. They want to hold on to this advantage of 2:29 at the moment, but you don't want to invest too much riding in the front. Although you're on the climb, they say, you know, the advantage in the wheel is not great drafting wise, but still mentally, if you can sit in behind and leave the other riders do the pulling, do the pace setting, you think you're winning a bit more there, and maybe more than you probably actually are, but mentally that is a great thing. So for the moment they're playing that game here, and yeah, they're getting into a situation now where they have to keep on working at it, because it's 2:26. If there's action kicks off in the earlier part of the climb from the main yellow jersey group, well, this could come down very quickly.
Sturven, we salute you. He's out the back. Adam Yates in this group, he's the next man who would stand the most to gain in the GC, by the way, with Rodriguez moving backwards there. About a minute and 45 roughly between the two at the start of the day. Derek G will be the next man, but you've got to go another minute, couple of minutes to see him. He's at 21:52 from Pogacar. There are enormous gaps in the top 10 in this tour now. 22 minutes 46 seconds from first to 10th as Tadej Pogacar loses another teammate. This is Sivakov, the Frenchman, and a gap at 2:23 now. Hirt is bringing it down. Another increase in pace. Landa still yet to ride, remember. Mas attacks at the front though. Enric Mas making his move. Only Carapaz can follow. Balde realizes that the strength of the two who've gone means he must try to chase. So there's Mas. Carapaz, who knows him well, Sean, former teammates, right on the wheel.
Yes, they know each other very well, and you know, they have been looking at each other in this break as we got ever so close to this final climb. And when you race so much together and being teammates and that, you can read from behind how they're riding, you know, their style. If they're starting to suffer a bit, you see that little movement on the bike, the rocking a bit, and that tells you. And then when you put in these attacks and you look over your shoulder and you see the little bit of daylight, you know that, yeah, there is a possibility here. But again, some of the riders, they ride at a steadier pace. So when you go in the attack, you know, they don't react immediately, stay in the wheel, but they just slowly come back to you. And there's riders that way as well. But yeah, now it's looking like that we're going to see the better climbers here out the front here. And yeah, Mas is a one who has been shown real good form. Carapaz has been excellent in the last 10 days of this race, and you know, he's been out in front, and that is the question. All the breaks he have been in, fighting for the polka dot jersey, will he pay for that a little bit in the end, or will the other riders come back to join up with the two out front?
Enric Mas, winner of a Vuelta stage in 2018. He's about to have company with Balde. What a way to go out in your Tour de France career, eh? Whether he wins or not from here, this is Balde at his best today.
Well, yes, he's doing a great tour, and you know, coming to your final Tour of France, it's a real difficult one at this stage in his career, but what a dream Tour of France for Bardet, you know, winning a stage, getting the yellow jersey, being in breaks on many times, and we can see here he's just fighting at the end of his energies, but yeah, a great tour he's had.
And Carapaz puts in another dig. He's really up the pace there through that tunnel. You could just see the way that Mas was starting to struggle. Balde immediately went backwards just as we were praising him. And look at the distance that Carapaz has put in there.
Yes, well, when you crack, you know, and the guys out front are able to push on at a real strong pace, you know, and then you know as well, you're, you know, hanging on there for a number of kilometres, you go so deep, then when you crack, you just lose ground rapidly on the climb.
Can Mas hold it? No World Tour victory for him since before the pandemic, 2019, when he won the Tour of Guangxi. It's about time he got back to winning ways at the top. We know he has the talent, and he's in the game here. 10.5 kilometers to go. It's Mas and Carapaz being chased by Balde at 17 seconds. The gap to this group, yellow jersey group, continues to reduce. 2:16. They are not out of it yet.
No, certainly not out of it. And again, it'll depend on now what the action is back in the main peloton, and you know, the big GC riders here, if they start the battle, well, then this advantage of just over 2 minutes could come down very, very quickly. But when the teammates finish, we will see Remco Evenepoel having a go, but if he's been followed by the other ones who we want to get rid of, and if Jonas Vingegaard in his wheel there, well, then he might knock off the effort. You can see that marking again back there in that peloton. So that will be, I think, what we will see coming out of the day if these guys can hold on.
Kelderman, as you suggested, Sean, just continues to work at things. That's very much his style. He has Johannesson on his wheel. He's at 20 seconds now from Carapaz and Mas, and they can just about see them at the road. Valdez in the middle at 15 seconds. That's Tratnik now. Provides drinks, foods for his teammate. Last teammate for Derek G's just left this group, by the way. That was Jakob Fuglsang. And G continues to ride his really impressive first tilt at the GC at the Tour. You can hear the encouragement for these two. Carapaz, who's already won a stage at this Tour. Building this advantage on the chasers who are immediately on the road. Behind it, it's staying fairly stable to the yellow jersey group for now. It's consistent and stable, this gradient. It's consistently difficult. 7-8% the whole way up. No real changes in rhythm, but it's a long, long climb to the finish, this. The end of 3 tortuously tough weeks. Not what a lot of the bodies want. Now then, here it finishes. Landa takes over. It's still fighting to be up at the front there. Now, if we see the best Mikel Landa, things could change quickly.
Well, that's what they've got to do in the team of Soudal Quick-Step. You know, they've set it up here for their leader, Remco Evenepoel, and they have to use their men here. The question is, Landa, how deep will he go? Because in the GC standings, he might be thinking, well, you know, I'll just ride, you know, to 95% and just spare that little bit, because we can see in the general classification, the Spanish battle, he's winning it, and all that is going through your mind as well. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one, how much he will pull it down, as we can see that he's coming down at the moment, but will he really go all out and just empty the tank fully? That will be the question here.
Well, whatever he's doing, he's already distancing riders. Buitrago's out the back, there's who does finally finish, and things obviously have increased in this group. There has been an acceleration because it's done for the Colombian. It is Landa. G's hanging on for dear life at the back. Ciccone with him, but a gap starts to open up from Adam Yates. Jorgensen drops further back in the group. He's on the wheel now of Almeida, and this looks like Mikel Landa is on a mission.
Yes, well, he is having a super tour, and we talked about that, Rob, and early part of the morning. You know, when he's not under the pressure to be leader, he seems to be able to, you know, do these great rides. And what a ride he's doing here, because the riders he's putting out the rear, you know, he's causing major problems for, you know, super climbers here.
Derek G there dropped. Adam Yates as well, just losing contact. Gap down by 15 seconds in the case of a few pedal strokes there from Landa. 9 Ks to go. Of course, Alberto Contador picked Mikel Landa for today's stage win, didn't he? But it looks as though he is fully committed to the service of Remco Evenepoel. 1:56, it's gone below 2 minutes for the first time, and there's still 9 Ks to go. They're peeping as guessing. That's Sturven who's caught. And everyone's just hanging on. Evenepoel must be feeling good here. Soler comes backwards. And now Tadej Pogacar, along with Joao Almeida, the most advanced UAE riders on the road. A look around at the damage being done by Landa. Remember, he's just missed out the podium spot previously in the Tour while helping others. Here he is in 5th place. And he's done this as a helper as well. Mikel Landa is right back into the form of his life. That wonderful style we love to watch him in. The Landani style, climbing in the drops. And the pace is high, 24 Ks an hour up here at 7%. speed again at the door. Soler gives Almeida a shower.
Yes, he's given both a shower. I think he poured a bottle over Pogacar as well there, and yeah, he's doing the last bit of his job here before he just slows down here and goes to the finish. But this is really a fast pace being set by Landa, and the interesting one is we can see Matteo Jorgensen is still clinging on here, and you can see Derek G, Adam Yates, Rodriguez, a lot of riders in difficulty. So that's going to be an interesting one now, how much time those guys are going to lose. And yeah, sometimes you see the guys losing contact, you say this is a long ways out, it's 9 kilometers out, but they get into that rhythm and they eventually only lose that 20 seconds, 15 seconds. But this is the one where end of race there could be big gaps between some of the men further down in GC.
Jorgensen, by the way, less than a minute to catch on Derek G if he's to move from 9th to 8th. And already probably halfway across that realistically, just watching this. Pogacar keeps looking around here, Almeida's there. 140 now, back from the lead of the race that we haven't seen.
Yo, what up? Thank you for the follow. Let me see who this name is.
Evenepoel is going to be the best young rider of this Tour de France, but he wants more. He's after moving from third
Bethany
to
James.
He's got just under 2 minutes to make up between today
Hello,
the
thank you.
final bit of mountains and tomorrow the time trial that will favour him. Certainly in this form. It's Jonas Vingegaard, defending champion, who is going to put under pressure. But in all reality, we are ready for the Renaissance Tour to end. Started in Florence.
One more follower towards our goal.
That it was always destined
So I
to
thank
be
you.
a Renaissance Tour with Pog back after a couple of Vingegaard-dominated years. Almirai is going to be the next to be caught as Landa eats up the meters and takes back the seconds. Out of the saddle once again. Another acceleration, and with 7.5 kilometers to go, the gap is reduced to 1.5 minutes. Yet another look around, the umpteenth turn of the head, and he sees that only 5 riders remain in his wheel. Almirai's trying to hang on. Jorgensen just losing half a wheel. He'll be in danger if it becomes more. Has to work at sticking where he is if he's to move up from 9th to 8th. But it's Landa who's doing the danger right now. The damage is being inflicted. And Vingegaard, he knows he's going to be put under pressure here.
Yes, well, he can feel it coming. And when you see the team of Remco Evenepoel riding from a long ways out, well, it is something that you have to get ready for. And yeah, make sure you, eat well, drink well, get ready for this final climb, and you know as well as an experienced tour rider how you're feeling, how you're recovered from yesterday's very difficult day, and you just do your best there and try and stay with the men you have to. And you cannot match them. You cannot go into the red too early on the climb. You just get into your ring, but this is a one where definitely Remco is going to push the pressure on.
And there's an attack from Carapaz. He's probably been told he can't hang around too much longer. We know he has the form, and he's trying to break Enric Mas, already king of the mountains. He wants another stage win, but Mas is fighting. Mas hasn't disappeared into the distance yet. And he's recovered well, ridden straight back onto the wheel here.
Yes, well, he's about to get onto the wheel, but again, how much has he invested here to do that? And yeah, we can see there Carapaz, he's definitely getting the call.
Evenepoel goes 122
kilometers.
straight on Vingegaard. Pogacar follows in third wheel, and it's the top 3, the podium at this Tour de France, and the first acceleration. Can't see Evenepoel
Good question.
away from the Dane.
No, and Remco is a rider that when he attacks, if you have riders in the wheel, he
almost 20.
continue on and persist with that real fast pace, and we can see immediately, looks around, knocks up his effort, and we're going to see a regrouping here. Almeida just getting back, Landa trying to recover after his effort there, Jorgensen also following here, but now a little bit of downtime here, that will play advantage into the front of the race. The 2 leaders, 1:17 at the moment, but still just under 7 kilometers. It's a long way on a mountain like this one.
The superstars at the top of the GC could well be in the frame for another stage win. Keep your eyes on Almeida. And he'll make a move now. Moves to the front. And his pacing is ferocious. So much of an improvement. Now Landa did a big job there, didn't he? He halved the deficit really when he went to work. And it's now the turn of Almeida. Jorgensen riding really well again. Really well.
Yes, and Almeida, of course, he has two interests here. First of all, if you set the pace here and try and take this advantage down to the men out in front, but also he does not like that attacking, slowing down. He likes to make that real strong tempo on the front, and he's making a bit of a more stronger tempo because he's doing the job for himself, but he's also serving for Pogačar and maybe a stage victory.
These are the two who still feel they will have the advantage to take the stage victory. Mas alongside Carapaz, 24 seconds on Bardet, 1:01 on the rest of those chasing who are still in the game, 1:30 ahead of the yellow jersey group. And as Almeida goes, this is how you predicted it might have happened all day, Sean. You talked about Pogačar not actively chasing it early on, but finding himself in this situation where he would not be able to resist a move to win the stage.
Well, I think if we talk to Taddy afterwards, well, you know, you went for this stage. Oh, no, not really. Almeida does not like this attacking on the climb, so he set his own pace, and the stage was up for grabs, so I had to go for it. And it's a true story. As you can see here, they didn't set out to try and take this stage at all, but the way they're riding, and with the man like Almeida here to set this pace on the front, you know, this is going to be a difficult one for the guys out front. And depending on how much they have left, the two leaders on the road, are they, you know, sparing a little bit until they get to that 4 or 5 kilometres, and we will see that big attack from one of them. Otherwise, it could be another disappointing day for the breakaway.
And Almeida all this time as well is building his own gap to Landa in 4th.
Yes, I think he knows that Landa has made the effort, but when you look at Landa Almeida, the time trial, I don't think Almeida would be too concerned about Landa in the time trial tomorrow. But yeah, this is a one now where the stage is being dangled out there in front of them, and when you're a rider like that, you know, with a team UAE, you have a leader like Pogačar, it's normal that they continue on, you know, setting the pace here.
A bit of fun at the back there from Kelderman, Vingegaard, and even a smile from Pogačar. Doesn't take much when he's in playful mood, though, does it? Here's João Almeida. 5.7 kilometres still to go to the top of the Col de la Couillole. Now, Jorgensen has just lost the wheel a little bit here. He's got Kelderman to help him as much as he can for now. And that help will be with food. Kelderman has done a great job the last few days, and Jorgensen continues to fight for his own place. A look round from Pogačar. Evenepoel still on the wheel of Pogačar's teammate Almeida. And then you have Vingegaard fighting, keeping his eye on the man in front. Here's Evenepoel, looks as well to see the situation. Bardet, he's fighting so hard here, 26 seconds. But this gap continues to come down at a real rate of knots now. It's just 1 minute now, Sean, and we've got a third of the climb still to ride.
Yes, well, I think if we see a bit of an action out of the Remco in this final number of kilometres, and he does really push on, and then we see the likes of Pogačar springing into action. A minute for the leaders here is not going to be possible, I think, to make it. But again, we can see here they're still putting on these push-ons out in front. Mas, you know, putting a bit of pace into it again, and they need to, you know, do that big time now, because when we're coming into the 5 kilometres to go, under the minute, if you start looking like this over your shoulder, well then you're going to be certainly caught in the final kilometres.
He tried and tried there, Enric Mas, but he could not shake Richard Carapaz. 30 seconds to Bardet, but now less than a minute to the yellow jersey group. They take Johannesson. By the way, it's 15 seconds for Almeida back to Landa right now. Almeida continues to pace. There's another smile and a joke between Johannesson and Pogačar. has to be comfortable if he can do that. And now Carapaz, left-hand side of your picture. There goes Carapaz, and it's up to Mas to try and hold again. It was Mas who attacked just a few hundred meters back, but it's the Olympic champion now, riding the final road race before that title comes up for grabs again, and he's gone. And at the same time behind, it's now Evenepoel time. Vingegaard with the pressure on to follow. There is a bike length. Now, can he extend that? He's trying, he's fighting, he's up the saddle. Pogačar is just following here. But again, that's that. And now Vingegaard. Vingegaard to attack back. And Remco Evenepoel, for now, has no response. And this is the defending champion, defending his second place with honour and hoping it'll end in glory. Evenepoel's tried to stick it to him, and now Vingegaard digs deep to find something else. Pogačar, in the meantime, waits, doesn't take a turn. You do wonder, though, whether he will pounce. Balde is caught. And a turn back in the favour of Vingegaard.
Yes, well, this is a surprise because we see that it was Remco Evenepoel was the one in the driving seat yesterday. But yes, you have to try, I suppose. And when you look at the GC standings, Remco Evenepoel had nothing to lose. He's way up on the fourth rider, so no danger at all of losing that. So you can risk it and, you know, put yourself into difficulty and lose a bit of ground, but at least you have tried here. But we can see yellow jersey, Tadej Pogačar not contributing at all here, and this is going to advantage to the men out in front. 52 seconds at the moment. This is going to be an interesting one, because how long is Vingegaard going to ride for with Pogačar on his wheel? It's going to be an interesting one.
Only one rider has ever won 5 mountain stages in the same tour. That was Gino Bartali in 1948. Tadej Pogačar has 4 in this tour. Evenepoel here is with Balde. Vingegaard about to put, as it stands, 15 to 16 seconds back into Evenepoel, and he's looking better today. And they're now 30 seconds from the front of the race. It's Vingegaard continuing to pace. Of course, he is working for the GC. He's trying to build back that gap up to Evenepoel and wants as much of a buffer as possible before tomorrow's time trial. Now Pogačar will come to the front, and now he'll start to ride himself. He can smell that stage win opportunity again. They tried to give it to the break. They might yet take it themselves again. 3.7 Ks to go. Vingegaard and Pogačar. Between them, the last 4 tours have been won. It'll be a 5th tomorrow when, as we expect, Pogačar pulls on the yellow jersey in Nice and wins for the 3rd time. Does the double for the first time in 26 years. Evenepoel's fighting. He's got back to 10 seconds now.
Yes, and this is Remco's style. You know, he just gets into that rhythm, and we've seen him in all tour where he just do not try and go with the big attacks of the big favourites here, but gets into a very strong rhythm and limits the losses. And this is going to be an interesting one. We see Tadej Pogačar taking the pull on the front, but he was glass cranking a bit, as we say in cycling, so he wasn't putting the power in there at all. He was just, you know, taking a pull on the front, but it wasn't a full on, and this is going to be an interesting one. You can see the gap has just melted down in this final number of kilometers here, and yeah, it's going to be another one where we're going to see the battle for the stage win between the 2 big favourites of the tour.
We've had 1-2 up sprint between them at Le Lioran. They do have to catch Mas and Carapaz, but they're getting ever closer. 15, 14 seconds. They'll soon see them up the road. In fact, they do. The flares light up the way. The crowd parts ways. And just 2 riders remain to catch for the top 2 on the planet right now. Jonas Vingegaard defending with pride. Battered and beaten up by his own standards yesterday. The emotion poured out of what he's been through. Everything he's overcome. The Danish fans are on the side of the road to welcome him back to fighting for the stage. But a familiar foe sits on the wheel in the yellow jersey. Carapaz with one last dig, one last chance, wants to shake them off. 3 Ks to go, and in the polka dot jersey, he still can't get rid of Enric Mas. Sticks to him like glue. Nothing to separate these two so far. But once again, he'll try. And Mas is fighting for his own life here. And that's that. Another cartridge is used. And once again, the target hasn't been hit.
Yes, well, these guys, Mas and Carapaz, made the riding here. If they had, you know, came to an agreement, okay, let's ride up the climb, you know, and keep on the pressure and try and hold on to as much advantage as we can, and then get inside the final 2 kilometers. And Carapaz, for example, I think in a sprint to the line, he's the more explosive one. And, you know, Mas, you give him the situation, okay, if he's good enough in the final 2K, maybe he can ride away from me. But you have to, you know, play that game and talk with the rider in front and see. But at the moment, it's not going to happen. They're just about being closed down.
Vingegaard, Pogačar, Mas and Carapaz. 2.5 kilometers to go. And in a situation for quite a while, we imagined that finally it was going to be the break without the interference of the top GC riders. Yet again, Pogačar finds himself with a chance to add what would be a 5th stage at this tour. Just over 2 Ks from the finish. He's already going to add another stat, another record to his roll of honor today. Because he's going to take the yellow jersey for the 38th time leading a Grand Tour this year. That's going to be more than anyone ever before. Last night he drew level with Eddie Merckx. And when this man's around, those records, those sequences, they disappear. 2 Ks to go now. Now Vingegaard looks around. Of course, he's interested in time on Evenepoel. The two at the back, they're hanging on. They're hoping for a chance to win the stage. They're going to have to contend with Pogačar as well. Here's Mas just giving himself a little bit of room. Or is it that he's struggling to hold on? It might be the latch, I'm afraid. Yep.
Yes, I think so. Mas is starting to feel the effects of being out here for most of the stages. You can see, yeah, they're riding away here, and Carapaz is going to try and cling on as long as possible, and hopefully that will be to the final 100 meters where he has that kick as well. And Pogačar, as we know, I think he's the one who has the more power left here. You can see the way he's riding the climb. Carapaz as well, he's invested a lot in this polka dot jersey competition all through the day. So it looks like that the yellow jersey is on the road to winning another stage, unless this man, the defending champion, Jonas Vingegaard, can really put up one of the performances which he did in this tour. Will he be able to do it again and take a 2nd stage victory?
Almeida still 7 seconds ahead of Landa. That's the fight for 4th place. The fight for 2nd right now being won confidently by Vingegaard. He's putting almost half a minute into Remco Evenepoel. Just under 2 minutes was the difference in favour of the Dane at the start of the day. We've had yet another rip-roaring day. It's deja vu at this tour. Just over a kilometre to go. And once more, we find the top riders in the GC fighting for the top prizes on the stage. Vingegaard left-hand side. Still pulling this at the front and trying to take every second possible on Evenepoel. Carapaz is trying to wind it up at the back in the polka dots. He will be the king of the mountains, provided he stays on his bike all the way to the finish tomorrow. Tadej Pogačar will win the Tour de France tomorrow, barring any incident or accident. It's a time trial from Monaco to Nice. The celebrations will begin in 24 hours' time. But for now, there's a chance of yet another stage win for one of these 3 serial winners, grand champions. Who's it going to be? It's a kilometre to go. Col de la Cuillole, the destination. The last kilometre on the road of this Tour de France in road racing. Oh, and Carapaz here. He's having a fight just to hold the wheel. Not a good way to start the sprint, that.
No, it's not looking good for the sprint. I was wondering, was he just trying to recover there, but it's not recovery. He's going into the red here. And the pace being set by Jonas Vingegaard, that tells that this is a strong one. But when you look at the yellow jersey, Tadej Pogačar, he's making it look so easy. But this man, he's not giving up without a fight. And Jonas Vingegaard, we heard that from him all through this tour. He's going to fight all the way. But yesterday evening, after the defeat, losing a lot more time to the yellow jersey, he was accepting that he wasn't going to be able to challenge the yellow jersey. But still, this is what a big Tour champion is. You keep on fighting, even though you're not, going to win the Tour of France. The stage is up for grabs here. We know in the general classification he is the advantage over Remco Evenepoel, but still fighting on.
It's a victory to Vingegaard, regardless of who wins the stage today. Half a kilometre left. Vingegaard has put a lot more time back into Evenepoel. He's defended it on her. He flicks the elbow. Now, does Pogačar come through? He's ridden with Vingegaard here on the wheel. Is he going to win the stage? That's the question. We're into the final 450 metres. Pogačar with 4 stage wins at this tour. He's really stuck it to Visma Lease bike after the damage they'd inflicted upon him in the last couple of seasons. And Tadej Pogačar here rides into the final couple of 100 metres. There've been more climbing meters for tired legs and weary heads. Stage 20 of this Tour de France coming to an end with yet again the top 2 on the planet right at the front. Here we go, 200 meters to line. Pogačar looking around. Vingegaard sitting on the wheel. Yet again, 4 full gas hours, and here goes Pogačar. No response, and that's it. It's going to be number 5. It will be number 5. Yet again, Tadej Pogačar, all alone, in yellow. Nobody can touch him. A man made to make history. Records tumble when this generational talent turns up, and he has done it yet again. Can you believe it? 2 greats battling it out. They push each other all the way. This year, Tadej Pogačar wrestles back the Tour de France from the grasp of Jonas Vingegaard and Vingegaard himself. Suffering doubt 24 hours ago, and Remco Evenepoel with momentum has grabbed 2nd place and surely now will make it his. Behind they come in. They tried to take the stage to them, but nothing can stop the top echelon. This trio of riders, 3 superstars on tomorrow's podium, but for a 5th time at this Tour de France, Tadej Pogačar does it. Only Pogačar and Bartali have ever won 5 mountain stages in one tour, and in each and every one of the big mountain stages we've had, Pyrenees, Alps, domination from UAE, Pogačar all powerful, and Sean Kelly, nobody can live with him.
No, again, and today was a day where they did not set out to go for this stage, but circumstances within the race, GC teams wanted to test other riders. It presents itself, and you have to go for it. As a big champion, you do not leave a stage of the Tour of France slip when it's there for the taking.
Talking of the numbers, talking of the records, at number 16, there is Romain Bardet.
I think we finished the season pass.
Final road stage for Bardet in his tour career. Sean Kelly's run off to get into the breakaway studio. Stay tuned because there is so much to unpick yet again. There might be a familiar winner, but this stage has had its own story to tell. What more can you say about Tadej Pogačar? Waller and the gang will do their best to try and add to a familiar familiar discourse. But it's 16 up in his tour career for Pogacar. Yet another Grand Tour stage this year as well. And behind they fight for their place is Derek G. And that's been a big battle with Ciccone. They finish at just under 3 minutes. Everybody in their own way contributing. But cycling, at the moment...
Is this it? No, this can't be it, is it?
Everybody attacks, rides towards the end, and Tadej Pogacar turns up and lifts the trophy. The ultimate winner, and then ultimate respect between the two biggest of rivals. He's done it again. It's 5 for Pogacar at this tour. And it's not over yet. The GC is tomorrow, barring any bizarre incident or accident, in a race of truth against the clock. Tadej Pogacar will win the Tour de France for the 3rd time in his career. And the Giro d'Italia, alongside the Tour de France, will bear the same winner in the same season for the first time in 26 long years. Pogacar, Vingegaard, Carapaz, Evenepoel, Mas. Romain Bardet in the